Very happy to have my next guest join us. He spearheads the band Blame My Youth. It is
Hey.
John Van Vleet.
Hey, man. Good to meet you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Just on a little jet lag from a first 10-day vacation I've had in years. So I was on a beach for 10 days in Hawaii, and now I'm back, and it's bright and early at 10:30 in the morning. It's like 7:30 for me right now
Here in California.
here in California.
What's it like in Hawaii right now? I'm sure that.
It's I almost cried on the plane coming back, to be honest.
Oh,
I
oh,
was just like, man, I need more of that. I just did nothing, just hung out and sat on a beach from for the first 3 hours of the day. I found out that my new passion in life is snorkeling. So I was snorkeling like 4 hours a day, just looking at fish. It was
wow.
awesome. Not thinking about anything, but that thing looks pretty cool. What's that? Wait, can that thing bite me?
Yeah,
That kind
right.
of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm not familiar with the marine life over there. What is there? What lives out there?
Man, they have their I mean everything. They have their state fish. I'm not even gonna try to say it. It's like HUM. It's like Hummamuka Maka something. It's like very long, but they're like the most beautiful fish I've ever seen, and they're all over those waters. But they also have tiger sharks and
Oh, right.
eels, and like a big. The only fear that I genuinely have had my whole life is I have a fear of snakes. And it's just something about them, no legs, no arms, bite you.
Right.
But I swam over a moray eel, and it was like just there was nothing I could do. It was like shallow water, and this little tiny eel was coming my way, and I just told myself, I'm like, it's just a mean worm, it's just a mean worm, and like swam under me, and I swam over, and it didn't get me. I'm like, man, okay, fear, face my fear, but.
No kidding.
Yeah, but a lot of turtles, there's like the Pacific octopus. It's awesome. It's like a new thing that I absolutely love when I need to like unplug from music. I just go and just sit in the water with my mask on and a snorkel and just look at things.
Congrats on all the attention, by the way, with Play My Youth. You guys are really on a roll right now with The Break and Tokyo Rose that are really making an impact and influencing, a lot of people and things like that. Gosh, how does it feel for this project to have this type of level of profile versus some of the
Man,
projects in the past?
man, it's pretty wild. And I mean, the band like it's kind of what the really weird, strange part about this is I've been doing this for so long. I had another band for almost a decade, Empires, out of Chicago. And then I moved out here and spent 5 years writing music with others and getting my songwriting career going. And this band started around pandemic. And then we didn't really tour much because no one did. And then 2022, 2023, we started touring. And at the end of 2023, we sort of reinvented ourselves. And I feel like the band started over in December when we put out The Break and this new style of music that I call beer in a wine glass. I used to call the old music. I watched two movies, Trainspotting and Big Lebowski, to start the band, and I came up with what I called Big Lebowski rock. Our first song, fantastic, and that was when we started. But you're asking how it feels. Like, it's crazy because as of right now, I'm a new artist again, like brand new artist. And even the band, like the guys, like, man, this kind of feels rejuvenated. Like the choruses, I'm not, screaming. Like my safe zone is like screaming and screaming over choruses and stuff like that. But it's a little more finesse. The writing is a little more serious. A focus on like the craft of songwriting with this new style. I mean, learning about all this stuff I've learned writing for others over the last 5 years, but it is definitely a complete like new thing, and it feels awesome to be doing this so long and feel brand new at it right now.
I'm so stoked for you about
Thank you.
with all of this that is going on. You don't remember, but you and I actually met at Austin City
I,
Limit.
I, I do when I do remember you because like did we do an interview as well?
We did when you were with that,
Yes, dude.
and
Yes, I.
not
The
to go off on
second
a
I saw
weird
you, like, wait a minute,
tangent,
I
but
know you.
we
I
were
know
talking
you.
about.
I'm like, where
Sorry
where
to
do I know
interrupt.
you from? That's so funny, dude. The second you popped up, I'm like, wait a minute, I know him. What's going on? What's going on here?
Right. And you don't even remember. Maybe if I tell you now, you will. But we went off on this tangent about spirits and ghosts that you encountered in a studio somewhere,
Yeah.
and it was
Yes.
that story still sticks with me today.
Yeah, we used to tour our old band, like right when we were kind of running out of gas, we're like, man, we got to keep touring fun, and we would stay in like haunted hotels and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was awesome. And then that the whole album was like kind of it was called Orphan, but that song Orphan we put out was very about being a haunting that I had when I was a kid. That's
Exactly.
so funny. I remember talking about that.
There is no timeline when you're a musician. It's not like you're climbing the corporate ladder, like, okay,
Uh,
get your foot in the door and someday you'll be VP. And and music just changes and shifts so dramatically and quickly. You pivoted from empires and went into producing other people, and then, like you mentioned, into the pandemic and just kind of met this other person that helped to spur this music, right?
yeah, Joey, my producer. I actually had known him for a long time, but yeah, I actually met him in 2010 when it's a long story, but like the first I was at South by Southwest, another Austin festival in 2010, and I was hanging out the window screaming one of my songs for Empires and met Seth at this label and he's like, dude, have you ever done co-writing before? I'm like, no, what's that? We don't do that in Chicago. He's like, all right, I'll come to Nashville. We're gonna write some songs. And I took a trip there, the same trip that Joey, who is now my producer, like 10 years later or 14 years later. Oh my God. But I met Joey. We wrote a song because he had done all like the Nickelback stuff. I'm like, man, I want to write a song for Nickelback. So we just did this song. It was like really fun. But then I decided not to like do the co-writing thing and just kind of went back to being Midwest band. But I had met him so long ago. And it's crazy. There is definitely not a timeline here. It's kind of like if you stay on a road like long enough, the same kind of road, you wind this way and you kind of like meet people. I got a text from someone that I haven't talked to. I woke up, I haven't responded yet, but I woke up and it was a text from someone I worked with him and his writers like 7 years ago. He's like, "Hey, Sean, remember?" I'm like, "Oh my God." It's just, you stay on the road and it's like, you just keep crossing and waving. It's like, you
Right.
keep running into the same kind of people because I don't know. It's a really fun. I feel like I've been at the same party for a long time, but the party hasn't gotten old yet.
What do you think you learned from producing other people? Because it wasn't your music, it wasn't your words.
Yeah, so my main role when I'm working with others is top liner. So I just sit with an artist and we write their song like lyrics and melody. There's a producer in the room that captures everything and records everything. But man, I've learned like what the thing that I've learned that is probably the most important thing because when I first started, I was quitting my band and I moved out to LA and the manager we had at the time, he was general managing Timbaland. And he's like, all right, you're going to go in the room and you're going to write with Timbaland and his crew for this band. I'm like, okay. And I was thrown right into the mix. But the most important thing that I learned in that process and the last few years of working with artists is listen. Like something that is hard for me sometimes to do because you're insecure when you walk into a room and you might have a title and a concept and you want to get there and just keep up. I like starting the party. So like just being kind of loud and having fun and everyone's having fun, but I've learned to do that, kind of start a little bit of a fire, but then sit back, especially if you're working with an artist. A true artist has a story to tell and sit back and listen to them talk and then be like taking notes and just talk. It's a conversation. And the best songs come out of that. If you're just kind of like going back and forth, someone might say something like really, really cool. And you're like, wait, that's awesome. And then they're like, oh yeah, that is awesome. I'm like, wait, that's a title. They're like, that is a title. And we start talking and I'm like, how about this progression over that? And but it's like I've learned that like creating music is a conversation.
I take it that's what has been so organic with Blame My Youth with you.
Yeah, yes, man. I mean, it's always been since I started the band. I wanted every song to like have meaning and have depth and say something about who I am. But what I never did sing about, like it used to be like lifestyle songs and everything's gonna be all right, like our song Fantastic and Prize Fighter and Demons and a lot of like self-help kind of stuff. But this chapter, like when I named the band Blame My Youth, I was like, I have so much stuff to like, I had like, okay, the summer of heartbreak for me was like 2007, 2008, 2009. And I had this bag of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dip into that whenever I need to and just talk about those because I could still like think back to like when I first like my heart was like completely ripped out of my chest. Was when I was living in Chicago, like super broke, sleeping on a mattress, falling in love with music while someone's breaking my heart. I'm like, man, it's like I think it's time for me to be a songwriter.
Mhm.
And I could like with this new stuff, especially the break, writing that song, I was able to like go back because my heart is I'm totally happy right now in relationship. But I went back to that and it was like so fresh and so real. It's like you can really feel that. So like I've got that duffel bag of Heartbreak I can kind of like tap into.
Do you have a timeline for the album?
One at the end of this year, but I think it's the beginning of next year. We're just going to keep releasing singles, and we have our album tracks that we're like. There's some that we're like obsessed with, but we know that they're not necessarily singles. So that's like those are your bedrock. That's your furniture on the album as well. So we have a lot of those, and we're just, we get together and we just keep, I think we're letting inspiration lead the way, and I believe inspiration is going to allow us to put out an album at the very beginning of 2025.
I'm so happy for you, man. Just
Um,
our one interaction years and years ago, I've been rooting for you, and just so stoked that this is finally coming together for you. And there's more obviously to come because the break continues to climb
yeah,
things.
yeah, we're that's a whole dream as well. We had a whole tour like supposed to happen this summer with that band Kid Capici, and that went away last minute, and we were able to do the radio run. So we just go to these different cities and play. So these small like packed studios of like 30, 40 people in this, like, not a control room, but like the small studios, and it's basically a behind the music. So you play acoustic and then you talk, and those have been fruitful for us. We've been able to meet the radio people who have like taken a big liking to this band, which is mind blowing. And yeah, that song just keeps on riding up. And then we have another one we're gonna, I think, go with here shortly. So it's pretty. I mean, it's a dream.
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that.
I am really, really stoked for you. Look forward to the new music and appreciate you checking in here.
Dude, thanks. It's so what a crazy messed up world. Here we are, like, what, 10 years later. I'm like,
Seriously.
wait a minute. I know him.
As soon as I said, I saw Blame My Youth, and I was like, all right, who's in the band? I was like, wait a minute.
Uh, it's pretty crazy.
There's only one Sean Van Vleet that I know.
Yeah. There's a Fred Van Vliet and there's a Greta Van Fleet, but one Sean Van Fleet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the time, man.
Man, thank you, man. This has been awesome.